John's 10 Rules to Life, Part 2, Everything is My Fault. Today I'm joined by John Cottrell in a series of 10 videos on his rules to be a happier, more fulfilled person. Rule 2, everything is my fault.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying that with a smile on your face, Chris, right? So,
Because that's what I say to the wife. Everything, and she says, no, it's not. But I tell you what, I'm a damn sight happy when everything is my fault. Even if it is not my fault,
yeah,
everything is my fault.
yeah. And why does it make you happy?
Because I'm not being blamed.
Yes, correct. And what's the second reason, if you had to think about it?
I'm not being criticised.
Yeah, but keep going, because there's another thing I want you to get to.
God, I hate it. Okay, so, okay,
If it's yours,
I've got responsibility, so everything's my fault. So therefore,
well,
I can change it.
right? That's the point. You can change it. So
But then
if
I have to. There's some things that I can't change.
Yes, there is.
So I've got to realise that I can't affect what's happening in the world.
That's what we say wisdom is, right? Is recognizing what we can change and dealing with that, and leaving and accepting what we can't change. I can't change the weather, but I can take an umbrella.
Yes.
For example. Yeah, that kind of thing.
I mean, I deal with an awful lot of estate agents, and they complain of estate agents, of competitors with low fees and overvaluing. And I say, you can't control what comes out of their mouth.
Yeah.
But it's your job to prove that you're worth a higher fee.
Exactly.
And it's your job to prove that the overvaluing will hurt the owner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And there's plenty of aspects in life.
Yeah.
We're not perfect at it, are we?
No. But let's take the classic market appraisal. If I'm going in to do a market appraisal, the only person that can affect the outcome of that market appraisal is me. If I put myself, and this is back to your point about blame, if I put myself at cause, yeah, so I'm going to cause the outcome of this market appraisal. I know that there's one or two people, that the potential vendors, they might do anything, who knows, I've not met them before. So I'm going to try and set up everything to my advantage so it gives me the best chance to help them, right? And if I'm prepared to learn and work on myself, then I've got the better chance of success. Yeah?
So you're making yourself accountable to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think about it, I think we've talked about this before, Chris, what's the thing that every agent is scared of in terms of improving a market appraisal? Do you remember that one?
What they're scared of?
Yeah. Something I make them do and they're like, oh no, I don't want to do that.
What, ring up lost valuations? No.
Record themselves in the valuation.
Yes.
And they hate it. They absolutely hate it. But of course, that fear is just the ego again. And if they realize there's nothing to be afraid of, it's only the sound of their own voice. But when you listen to that recording, there's huge opportunity to learn. You don't even need to share the recording with anybody else. You could learn solely by yourself.
I mean, now there's AI that will listen in to negotiators' phone calls.
Brilliant.
And then summarize the notes to put them in the system to thus saving time, but then also listen on the tonality and the balance of listening and spot opportunities as a learning tool.
Yeah, fantastic.
So there's another thing of using great tech to improve yourself as a human being.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so Clive Woodward, the guy we know from rugby, one of the things he said when he was talking to us one day was, leaders lead with technology. And if you think about prop tech, how much technology has come into the estate agent, letting agent field over the past 10 years. It's huge, right? I know owners who've literally outsourced the whole business to service providers. It's amazing what's possible.
Okay, so accountability, ideally everyone should be self-accountable to themselves.
Yeah.
But quite often that's really hard work.
Oh, yes. Yeah, some of the top, take Marshall Goldsmith, written some great books about personal performance. He he has this lady call him every day and asks him his daily accountability questions. Has he showed up the way he should be? Has he spoken to people appropriately? All these things to make sure he's accountable and he's on track. So there's a guy, top executive coach in the world, taking his own medicine. Yeah, he's a behavioural specialist, and what he does, he has someone that he is accountable to for his own behaviour on a daily basis.
But then being accountable, coming back to the first video about emotions,
Yeah,
people don't want to be accountable because it'll open up a can of worms.
it may. That's their fear. Yes.
But then that's the ego talking.
Right. Go on.
And we talked about it in the first video, is that the ego is like a protective barrier.
Yeah.
So therefore you're only lying to yourself, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the trick. If you've got enough guts to put the barrier down and open yourself up, what's the worst? Nothing. It's not going to kill you finding out about yourself. I've never worked with someone who's dropped dead as a result of what we found. It's never happened. It's not going to, right? But in people's minds, they blow it up to such a state. It's like going to the dentist. It's not going to hurt them. Never has hurt anybody. For those who are brave enough, they find out so much about themselves. And then, of course, having learned about themselves, they find out about others. And that's incredibly powerful because it helps you make a connection. When you, oh, I used to think like that, or I know why that. And so you can connect with that person much more authentically than you ever could in the past. And then the other person's thinking, this guy understands me. And that's rare.
That requires change, and no one likes change.
As a general rule, that's true, Chris, yeah. And that's what I encourage any agent to do, whether you're a letting agent, estate agent, recognise that the answers lie within. And as long as you're brave enough to look, you'll have the best chance of finding and therefore the best chance of learning from, for sure. And that will change your life, business and at home.
So if we are going to change, John, how do we need to talk to ourselves? Because that's really, and when you say talk to yourself, there's two sides to the brain, the unconscious and the subconscious. Sorry, same thing, conscious and subconscious. What's your best advice on that?
So when we listen to our own language, and coming back to what you said before about, I'm going to blame myself, put myself at cause, then if I express myself passively, so the train was late or the traffic was heavy, rather than I didn't get out of bed on time. Yeah, I didn't give sufficient buffer to allow for late train, heavy traffic, roadworks, anything that could have got in the way of my day. I then can blame these other factors over which I have no control as the reason, excuse why I didn't turn up on time. Probably the simplest example we could give. So if I'm going to put myself at cause, recognizing what was it Matthew Syed says, the high probability of a low probability event. So in other words, there's a high probability that some factor that I haven't thought about will cause me to be late. I can't predict what it's going to be, or that Bloggs is going to crash his car or whatever, but it's probably going to be something, and therefore I'm going to give myself that extra time. Yeah, and when I arrive early, because none of those things happened, I'll use that time to do something constructive so that it's not wasted. And the worst case is I'm on time. Yeah, so I'm now less stressed, more focused, and therefore whatever I'm going to do is going to have a better outcome than if I was late and I was rushing, because I didn't take personal responsibility.
In part 3, I want to talk about failure.
Yep.